The morning after my wedding, I awoke believing my life had finally settled into a peaceful rhythm. My name is Hannah Mercer. At 32, I had just married Logan Pierce less than a day ago. Sunlight streamed through the bedroom window, illuminating the room in a golden glow. Logan still slept beside me, an arm thrown carelessly over the covers, his chest rising and falling steadily. He looked serene, as though life had left him no secrets. I slipped out of bed quietly, brewed a cup of tea, and cut a small slice of leftover wedding cake. A small, soft smile touched my lips. Calling him my husband felt both surreal and comforting. Then my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. I almost ignored it. "Hello?" I answered. "Miss Mercer?" A man's voice asked, calm but edged with urgency. "This is Thomas Hale, manager at Heritage Bistro. We hosted your wedding last night." I smiled softly, thinking of the previous evening. "Yes, thank you again. Everything was perfect." There was a pause long enough to make my stomach twist. "That is not why I'm calling," he said. "We reviewed our security footage this morning. What we found involves your wedding." My heart skipped a beat. "Involves how?" "I cannot explain over the phone," he replied. "Miss Mercer, you need to come here today and see it in person. Please, come alone. Do not say a word to your husband." At that moment, the shower turned on behind me. Logan was awake. In that instant, my picture-perfect marriage began to crack. Before that call, I had believed I truly knew my husband. Logan had entered my life quietly, almost cautiously. We met 6 months earlier in a small downtown bookstore. I had been searching for a teaching guide for my third-grade class. He was flipping through car magazines, grease faintly smudged on his hands, wearing a shy, unassuming smile. He offered to help me reach a book on the top shelf. From that small gesture, our conversations began. It felt effortless, natural, as if two adults could simply exist in each other's company without pretense. Logan listened to me attentively, remembered the smallest details, asked about my students, my parents, my daily routines. When I stayed late grading papers, he brought coffee. When I was exhausted, he noticed. When I was stressed, he showed up. After years of being alone, that attention felt like sunlight after a long gray winter. Logan never rushed physical intimacy or pressured me in any way. Instead, he spoke about stability, about planning a future, about wanting something real. Barely a month into our relationship, he admitted he was serious and did not want to waste time on pretense. My parents were cautious. Friends were surprised. 6 months seemed fast, but Logan offered calm predictability. He didn't drink much, worked diligently as a mechanic, and often spoke of a simple life. A wife, a home, a family. I believed him. For the first time, love arrived quietly, without drama. I was certain I had chosen correctly, and that certainty made what happened next unbearable. Our wedding night unfolded exactly like the stories of perfect celebrations. We had chosen Heritage Bistro because it felt intimate and personal. No grand halls, no extravagant decorations, just friends, family, and soft lights surrounding a quiet courtyard. About 40 guests attended, my parents, Logan's parents, co-workers from my school, his friends from the auto shop, and my bridesmaids, including Vanessa Reed, a college friend. When my father walked me down the aisle, his hands trembled slightly. He whispered how beautiful I looked and how proud he was. I fought back tears as my eyes met Logan's. He stood at the front, tall and confident in a navy suit, watching me as if I were the only person in the world. His smile was a promise, a quiet declaration of love. The ceremony was simple yet heartfelt. Our vows were personal, filled with sincerity. When he placed the ring on my finger, he squeezed my hand and whispered he would always protect me. During our first dance, he held me close, whispering he was the happiest man alive. Cameras flashed. Someone dabbed at tears. It felt eternal, like a memory that could never fade. Yet even in that perfection, small things stirred unease. Vanessa laughed a little too loudly, touched Logan's arm more than necessary, wrapped him in a friendly embrace that lingered just a moment too long. I noticed but dismissed it. Vanessa was always confident, physical, and comfortable with attention. I was tired, emotional, a bride swept up in her day. Later, when I danced with my father, Logan excused himself to take a work call outside. I didn't question it. Why would I? That night, amidst smiles, music, and celebration, I truly believed I was the luckiest woman alive. I did not know that behind the laughter and lights, something insidious was already unfolding. Our apartment, the place Logan and I were to share, was mine. A modest 2-bedroom condo on the 4th floor of a brick building downtown. Nothing luxurious, but warm, secure, and filled with memories. I inherited it from my grandmother 3 years prior. She had spent her life as a meticulous bookkeeper. Before she passed, she made me promise never to sell it. "This is your safe place," she had said. "No matter what happens, you will always have a roof over your head." I honored that promise. Slowly, I renovated. New wallpaper, simple furniture, a small kitchen table by the window. It was home because of the care and patience invested in it. Logan had often said that's what he loved most. The authenticity of a place that felt rooted in honesty and history. Before marriage, Logan rented a tiny studio far from the city, claiming it was temporary while he saved. Moving in together was practical. Why waste money on rent when I already had a home? I believed marriage meant sharing everything: trust, space, life. I hadn't yet realized that what I was offering, security, could be misused by the wrong person. The drive to Heritage Bistro that day was tense. My hands gripped the wheel tightly, shaking slightly. The restaurant was closed, empty, quiet, except for the faint smell of cleaning products. Mr. Hale met me at the door, older and wearied by the morning's events. "You should sit before you see this," he said softly. That was when fear fully settled into my chest. He guided me through the quiet hallways past the kitchen into a small office at the back. A laptop sat open on a desk, paused on a black and white image. "I debated calling you at all," he said quietly. "If this were my daughter, I would want someone to know." He pressed play. My eyes widened. The video showed a storage room, a couch tucked into a corner. The timestamp read 9:43 p.m., the moment I had been dancing with my father. Vanessa entered first, tight dress, confident steps. Logan followed, closing the door behind him. My stomach turned as I watched. They embraced, their movements deliberate, practiced, unrestrained. They laughed, relaxed, comfortable, as if my existence didn't matter. "I'm sure this is a misunderstanding," I whispered. Mr. Hale only reached for the volume, his expression grave. And then the truth spoke. When the sound came on, there was no longer any room for denial. Their voices were clear and deliberate. Vanessa's tone was casual, almost amused, as she complained about having to pretend she was my friend while watching me dance with Logan. Logan's voice followed, calm and calculated, explaining every detail of their scheme. The word "planned" echoed in my mind like a hammer against glass. I sank back into my chair, my hands trembling. Every smile he had ever given me, every tender word, every shared glance, it had been a lie, a meticulously constructed performance. They laughed together, discussing the next steps of their plan. Logan explained how I would be manipulated into signing over the condo, how everything I thought was a quality in our marriage had been nothing but a strategy to take what I had worked for. My hands clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. Vanessa asked what would happen after the divorce. Logan responded as though he were instructing a team rather than conspiring against me. They discussed selling the condo, living off the proceeds, and moving on without a second thought for the life I had built. Then came the words that shattered something deep within me. "Marrying a teacher had been easy," he said, "because I was lonely, predictable, and grateful for attention." He called me boring. The tears I had feared would fall had already dried. In their place, something colder, clearer took hold. I did not scream. I did not beg. I understood with a terrifying certainty that they had underestimated me. And they were wrong. I left the restaurant, the flash drive heavy in my pocket as if it carried not just evidence, but the weight of truth itself. My body moved on autopilot. I didn't return home. Instead, I drove to my parents' apartment, the only place that still felt like safe ground. My mother opened the door, immediately sensing something was wrong. My father rose the moment he saw me. When I showed them the recording, my mother cried quietly. My father was silent, his hands shaking with anger. He wanted to confront Logan immediately, to drag him out and make him pay. I stopped him. If I faced Logan now, I knew what would happen. He would lie, apologize, promise to change, and I might, for a fleeting moment, believe him again. I would not give him that chance. That night, sitting at the kitchen table, I felt something settle inside me. The pain was still there, but it no longer controlled me. I did not want a private apology. I wanted exposure. I wanted the people who had underestimated me, who had violated my trust, to be confronted by the truth. And slowly, a plan began to form. The plan was simple, and that simplicity made it powerful. Heritage Bistro could host a second celebration after a wedding, a casual gathering meant for friends and family to enjoy each other's company. No one would find it unusual if I suggested a follow-up evening to properly thank everyone for attending the wedding. I told Logan it was simply to thank everyone, to enjoy a relaxed evening together. Of course, he believed me. He never questioned my motives. "You are always so thoughtful," he said, his pride in me almost laughable now that I knew the truth. I contacted Mr. Hale again. He agreed to help, no questions asked. We booked the same room, the same tables, a light buffet, and drinks, nothing extravagant, but enough to gather everyone in one place. Then I began inviting guests, family, friends, co-workers, Logan's parents, his friends from the auto shop. Everyone accepted with ease. Vanessa, of course, was especially enthusiastic, praising me for being the perfect hostess and wife. I smiled through her words, my expression betraying nothing. The days leading up to the event were tense. Logan continued his performance, discussing future plans, weekend activities, and shared dreams as though nothing had happened. I observed him carefully. Every word, every gesture, every casual glance I allowed myself to witness reminded me of the danger of private confrontation. If I had confronted him alone, he would have spun his lies until the story appeared believable. But this time, there would be no shadows to hide in. By the evening of the gathering, everything was ready. Heritage Bistro filled quickly, the familiar warmth returning with soft lights and friendly chatter. By 7 p.m., nearly every table was occupied. Laughter drifted through the room, the clinking of glasses punctuating conversations. People greeted Logan with smiles and congratulations, completely unaware of the storm about to be unleashed. Logan, confident and untroubled, regaled the table with stories from the auto shop. Vanessa arrived fashionably late, slipping into a chair beside him as though she had been invited, specifically to claim a spotlight. I watched them from across the room, my heart beat steady in a way that surprised me. I wasn't here to yell or demand apologies. I was here to let the truth speak for itself. Once everyone had eaten and settled, I stood and walked to the front of the room. A large screen loomed behind me, blank and innocuous. I thanked everyone for attending, my voice calm, clear, and measured. I spoke of gratitude and appreciation, subtly preparing them for what they were about to witness. Then I gestured toward the manager. The screen lit up. At first, curiosity rippled through the crowd. The storage room appeared, followed by Vanessa's confident steps and Logan trailing behind. The kiss was unmistakable. A sharp gasp echoed through the room. Someone dropped a fork. Logan sprang to his feet so quickly that his chair scraped across the floor. "What is this?" he demanded, his voice rising. "Turn it off!" No one moved. The audio kicked in, Vanessa's voice sharp and incredulous, Logan's calm, methodical responses following. Each word was clear, precise, and devastating. Faces around the room shifted from curiosity to disbelief, then to anger. Logan's mother clutched her mouth in shock. His father's face drained of recognition. Vanessa tried to defend herself, but no one offered sympathy. I watched silently as the story unfolded before everyone I had invited. Logan froze, color draining from his face, unable to conjure a lie. I stepped forward, removed my wedding ring, and placed it carefully on the table in front of him. "This marriage is over," I said, my voice unwavering. "I am filing for divorce on Monday." Logan reached toward me, panic finally cracking his composure. "Hannah, wait. I can explain." I stepped back. "You planned to steal my home. You lied to my face. You humiliated me. There is nothing left to explain." I turned to Vanessa. "You were supposed to be my friend. You stood beside me at my wedding while plotting to ruin my life." No one defended her. Logan's father stepped forward, stern and commanding, ordering him to leave and pack his things immediately. Logan did not resist. He could not. Guests parted for him as though he were carrying poison, and I felt a strange, unexpected relief as he walked toward the door. By midnight, Logan was gone. His shoes, clothes, and presents had vanished from the condo. It was uncanny how quickly someone could erase themselves from a life they had claimed to want forever. The days following Logan's departure passed in a blur. I stayed with my parents for a while, savoring the quiet safety of my childhood home. They didn't pry, didn't offer advice unless I asked. They simply stayed near me, a steady presence in the storm of my emotions. My mother brought tea and sandwiches, sitting with me in comfortable silence. My father offered quiet support, never forcing his anger into action, letting me process the betrayal in my own way. Monday arrived with an almost surreal calm. I returned to work, the place that had always been a sanctuary. My students ran to greet me, their energy and excitement filling the room like sunlight. They showed me drawings, proudly read out spelling tests, and asked about my weekend. Their voices, honest and unfiltered, reminded me that life did not pause because my marriage had ended. Amid the innocence of the classroom, I felt grounded, my sense of self returning piece by piece. Logan did not contest the divorce. He signed the papers quietly, without objection. The condo remained mine, untouched by his hands, exactly as it had been before he entered my life. Friends checked in regularly, some offering apologies for not seeing the warning signs, others simply listening, letting me share my story without judgment. Each conversation reminded me that while deception had surrounded me, I was not alone in facing it. At night, the apartment felt empty at first. Too quiet, too still. But gradually, the silence became a companion rather than an oppressor. It allowed me to breathe, to think, to begin rebuilding my life. I realized that the hardest part of the ordeal was not losing a husband, it was losing the illusion I had trusted. Once the illusion was gone, life became clearer, lighter, and more intentional. Over the weeks, I learned lessons that no heartbreak could teach lightly. I understood that kindness without boundaries invites exploitation. I discovered that remaining calm does not equal weakness. And I recognized that silence is a tool, only powerful when wielded intentionally. Strength does not always roar. Sometimes it waits quietly, patient and unyielding until the right moment arrives. Logan and Vanessa had believed that my trust and my calm nature made me an easy target. They misjudged me entirely. I had been observing, learning, and preparing, even when they thought I was oblivious. I had not reacted out of rage. I had acted with precision. Honesty, exposure, and truth were my allies, more powerful than confrontation fueled by anger. The plan I had set in motion had worked because I had allowed it to. I had waited until the moment of undeniable clarity, when deception could no longer hide. Life slowly regained a sense of rhythm. I returned to my routines, the small joys of teaching, the familiar city streets, and quiet evenings in my condo. I started redecorating not out of necessity, but as an act of reclaiming my space. I placed fresh flowers on the table, rearranged furniture, and added small personal touches to remind myself that this home, my home, was mine alone. Every object, every corner became a symbol of my independence and resilience. Friends became my anchors. They listened as I recounted the betrayal, offered support without pity, and reminded me of my worth. Some admitted regret at not noticing the signs sooner. Others simply affirmed that I had acted with intelligence and courage. Their words reinforced what I had begun to understand. The past could not define me, but the lessons it carried could guide my future. In those quiet nights, I reflected on everything that had happened. I realized the danger of illusion, how easily it could wrap itself around even the most cautious heart. I understood that trust must be earned, verified, and sometimes tested, not in a manipulative way, but by observing consistency over time. Logan's charm, his careful attention, his measured gestures had all been tools of deception. Vanessa's seeming loyalty, her laughter and warmth, had masked calculated cruelty. They had believed they could control me, exploit my predictability, and quietly take what they desired. I had chosen another path. I had not yelled. I had not sought revenge through humiliation or confrontation. Instead, I had allowed the truth to speak for itself. I had used patience, observation, and clarity. By doing so, I reclaimed my home, my dignity, and my peace of mind. The exposure had forced accountability, not through my anger, but through undeniable reality. Logan could not manipulate the narrative anymore. The witnesses had seen and heard everything. During this time, I also began to appreciate the small, constant things that had always mattered. The laughter of my students, the comfort of my parents' presence, the warmth of a sunlit kitchen, the sound of my favorite music filling the apartment. These moments, ordinary and quiet, reminded me that life could be full and meaningful without the presence of someone who sought to deceive. The foundation I had built over years, my career, my home, my relationships remained intact. I had not lost my life. I had regained control of it. Weeks turned into months. Each day reinforced my sense of clarity. I realized that the ordeal had not broken me. It had sharpened me. It had shown me the value of boundaries, the necessity of observation, and the power of calm resolve. I no longer feared deception or betrayal because I had faced it, understood it, and acted decisively. Strength, I discovered, is not always dramatic. It can be quiet, deliberate, and patient, waiting until the truth has no room left to hide. Eventually, I returned fully to my routines, teaching with renewed focus and dedication. I engaged with friends and family more intentionally, valuing honesty and mutual respect above all else. My apartment, once a place of tension and uncertainty, became a haven again. I spent evenings reading, cooking, and reflecting, appreciating the life I had fought to preserve. Each moment reinforced my independence and self-respect. I also began to think about trust differently. It is not blind or unquestioning. Trust must be supported by observation, reinforced by consistency, and validated by actions. Logan had exploited mine and Vanessa had enabled it. But their miscalculation had given me something equally valuable: the certainty that my instincts, my patience, and my attention to truth were worth more than any illusion of love or loyalty. And in that understanding, I found freedom. Freedom not just from Logan, but from the fear of being taken advantage of. Freedom to live deliberately, honestly, and independently. Freedom to appreciate kindness without naivety, to recognize loyalty without suspicion, and to trust my judgment without hesitation. In the weeks that followed, life settled into a new rhythm. Quiet, intentional, and fully mine. Logan and Vanessa were no longer shadows haunting my thoughts. Their presence existed only in memory, sharpened by clarity rather than pain. I had reclaimed my home, my dignity, and my sense of self. The betrayal I had endured had been devastating, but it had also been illuminating. I had learned that true strength is quiet, that courage does not always roar, and that patience can wield power greater than fury. Returning to my apartment, I found solace in the small, familiar details. The sun spilling through the windows, the soft hum of the city outside, the simple arrangement of furniture and books, all reminders that this life, my life, was intact. I began to fill it with new routines and new intentions. I cooked meals I enjoyed, rearranged corners of my home to reflect my tastes, and spent evenings immersed in books I had long wanted to read. Every act of care reinforced a profound truth: life could continue beautifully, even after betrayal. Work became an anchor, grounding me in purpose and connection. My students greeted me with warmth, their enthusiasm and innocence restoring a sense of normalcy. Each day, their laughter and curiosity reminded me that the world was larger than my pain, that joy could exist alongside heartbreak. Colleagues offered quiet support, checking in with genuine concern, while friends and family continued to remind me that I was surrounded by people who valued honesty, integrity, and respect. The more time passed, the clearer I understood the depth of Logan's deception. He had relied on charm, calculation, and my trust to manipulate me, believing that my calm and kindness would make me malleable. Vanessa, who had posed as a friend, had been complicit in the entire scheme. They underestimated me completely, but their underestimation had been my advantage. By observing quietly and acting with intention, I had exposed the truth in a way they could not deny or manipulate. The video, the gathering, the witness of friends and family, all of it had placed the power firmly in my hands. I reflected often on the lessons learned. Kindness, I realized, is not weakness. It is strength when tempered by awareness. Trust, while vital, must be paired with discernment. Silence can be a tool, patience a weapon, and clarity a shield. I had discovered that one need not react in anger to be powerful. Strategic patience combined with clear action can achieve far more than impulsive confrontation. I had acted not out of revenge, but out of a desire for truth and accountability. The condo, once a symbol of my vulnerability, became a sanctuary of independence. I decorated it slowly, intentionally, with items that reflected my tastes and memories. Every corner was a reminder that my space, my life, and my choices belonged to me alone. I cultivated routines that nurtured my mind and spirit: morning tea by the window, walks through the neighborhood, and quiet evenings spent reading or journaling. These small practices grounded me, creating a sense of safety and stability that had once felt fragile. Social interactions, too, became more deliberate. I allowed myself to build connections with those who valued honesty, integrity, and respect. Conversations were measured, friendships cultivated with care, and boundaries clearly defined. I discovered that being cautious did not diminish joy. Instead, it preserved it, ensuring that trust and intimacy were meaningful and protected. In reflection, I realized that the hardest part of my ordeal had not been losing a husband, it had been losing the illusion I had believed in. That illusion had colored my perception of love, trust, and security. Its absence, though painful, had brought clarity. Once the illusion was gone, the path forward was unmistakable. I could build a life based on reality rather than pretense, grounded in authenticity and free from manipulation. I often thought about Logan and Vanessa, the ease with which they had assumed control, and the recklessness of their belief that they could outsmart me. Their deception, however, revealed a simple truth: underestimation can be exploited. Their arrogance had become my advantage. By waiting, observing, and acting with intention, I had ensured that the consequences of their choices were undeniable. The truth, once revealed, left no room for denial or manipulation. Over time, the fear, anger, and betrayal transformed into a quiet confidence. I learned to trust my instincts, to act decisively, and to value transparency above all else. I discovered that independence and self-respect are worth more than false loyalty or convenient affection. Logan and Vanessa had believed that they controlled the narrative. In reality, I had always held it. I had merely been waiting for the right moment to assert it. Eventually, the quiet of my apartment no longer felt lonely. It felt peaceful. I embraced my independence, the small joys of life, and the clarity that comes from surviving and understanding a profound betrayal. I returned fully to my routines, to teaching, to friendships, and to the city I loved. My life moved forward, measured, intentional, and grounded in truth. I realized something essential. Being underestimated is not a weakness. It is an opportunity. Time, observation, and patience are powerful allies. By allowing deception to reveal itself, by remaining calm while planning deliberate action, I reclaimed my life without losing my integrity. Strength, I discovered, is quiet, patient, and unwavering. As I sit in my sunlit apartment, reflecting on everything that has happened, I feel a sense of clarity I have never known before. Logan and Vanessa are gone, but their betrayal left a lasting lesson. I am awake to the truth, aware of my worth, and confident in my ability to protect and preserve my life. I am no longer a victim of illusion. I am the architect of my reality. To anyone listening or reading this, if you feel underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed, know this: being underestimated provides time, and time provides power. Observe, trust your instincts, and act with clarity. You do not need to react with anger or dramatics. Quiet patience and strategic action can achieve more than fury ever could. Today, I live alone, and for the first time in years, that feels right. My home is mine. My life is intentional, measured, and honest. I am not bitter. I am not angry. I am simply awake. The betrayal I endured did not break me. It revealed me. It clarified who I am, what I value, and how I will protect my life. What happened to me may be difficult to hear, but it is meant to remind you that clarity, patience, and truth are powerful tools. Trust yourself, pay attention to actions, and never ignore the quiet voice inside. Life can be full, meaningful, and joyful, even after deception. Strength does not always roar. It sometimes whispers, waits, and quietly ensures that the truth cannot be hidden. And in that quiet power, I found freedom, independence, and the certainty that my life is mine, entirely and unapologetically.